I'm Derek Rhodes. I look after all things community related at Vimeo, and I'm joined by an amazing expert panel of social media leaders today. All of these women are officially crushing it. We have Melissa Radzimski. She's the managing editor for social and video at The Today Show. Hi, Melissa.
Hi, everyone.
And Bianca Fernandez. She looks after social and community at Tarte Cosmetics. Hi, Bianca.
Hello.
Thanks for being
Excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. And Maren Hamilton, she's the director of social and community at the North Face. Hi, Maren.
Hey, thanks for being here, everyone.
Thanks so much for being here. I'm so excited for this conversation and really looking forward to digging in with each of you. So we've heard from a bunch of the speakers today about the importance of, authenticity when communicating your brand and how essential it is kind of to everything you do. I'd love to just dig in with each of you a little bit on how you think about authenticity where you are and for the brand you're working with. Bianca, if we could start with you, I wonder how you approach things.
Yeah. So I really think authenticity on social is not like a blanket statement. It is different for everyone and every brand. So it's really what's authentic to you. So for those of you who might not know Tarte, we're good for you beauty that's never boring. So we're cruelty free. We use natural ingredients, but our packaging and our products aren't beige. We're not brown. We're not boring. We're very bright, colorful, fun. We're also not a brand founded by a pro makeup artist. So our products are really meant to be versatile and easy to use for everyday consumer and everyday wear. So in turn, authenticity on social for us really means content that is relatable, fun, entertaining, especially on TikTok. So when we needed to kick off our biggest influencer trip of the year, Tarte Island, we decided to try something new and kind of bring new life to our Shape Tape mascot, who was kind of sitting in a closet. We gave her a personality and a voice using the TikTok effects and created this video that you're about to see that really brought our audience in on this Tarte Island reality TV show that we essentially produced and shared on TikTok over the course of the next 10 days in Turks and Caicos. So this was the teaser for that, which we can play now.
Welcome to another crazy day in my life. As soon as I got to the office, I had an urgent incoming Zoom call from the CEO.
Shape Tape, we need you in Turks.
Hop on the first plane here. ASAP.
I'm not sure what's happening, but I don't ask questions. I quickly packed my bag, booked a flight, and headed to the airport. I didn't want to wait for an Uber, so I tried to hail a cab. And then a delivery biker almost ran me over, like, "Hello, dude, how could you miss me? Get out of my way, I got places to be." As soon as I got to the airport, it was coffee time. So you could imagine my devastation when I found out there was no Dunky Iced Coffee at this terminal, so I got Maureen's favorite Starbucks order instead. Then I did some reading to catch up on some very important current events. I have to stay educated. I also made sure to pick up my favorite anti-stress remedies. Concealer can only cover so much. When I finally landed in Turks, a very handsome driver came and took me to the villa. Tarte knows I need a ride in style, so this car was extra bougie. As we were driving to the villa, I couldn't help but wonder what I'm even supposed to be doing here. But when I stepped out of the car, I finally realized this wasn't going to be just any work trip.
Amazing. So, I have to know where the mascot came from. Did you inherit that, or was that how did that come about?
That was there before me. We actually have quite a few, but Shape Tape is the OG mascot. But they had never really created a personality around it. It would have little cameos and social content, but this was part of a little vlog series we started to create and personifying Shape Tape. So Dunky Donuts iced coffee is Shape Tape's favorite iced coffee. There's certain hints throughout the video if you watch the other vlogs that would kind of tune you into his personality. But that video garnered almost 1 million views before the trip started. So no influencers had even been tagging yet. And then kicked off Tarte Island, where we produced 40 pieces of unique video content, most of it being super raw, unfiltered, unedited, giving our audience a real inside look to what it was like to be on one of our iconic influencer trips. And people were hooked. They were tuning in. We were having in the comments, people were tuning in every day to watch the trip unfold in real time on our social channels, as you would watch a reality TV show. So the raw and unedited approach was definitely how we're also able to churn out 5 videos a day with a 3-person on-site team. but they were hooked, they were entertained, and that content through the course of the 10 days amassed 15 million impressions. And our hashtag Tart Island on TikTok is now up to 78 million impressions. So overall, the raw and authentic approach brought people in,
That's
and that
awesome.
was new for a
Yeah,
trip.
totally. I love how scrappy it is and how you just kind of dove in. And I definitely want to follow up with some more questions, but I want to get to Maren and talk a little bit about how you think, Maren, about the same sort of authenticity question at a very different type of brand, right? North Face.
Yeah, for sure. And Bianca, I loved your answer. Like, it's so unique to each brand. I was also very much following along Tart Island. I was invested. It was my entertainment for at least a week. But yeah, like totally different brand, like you mentioned, the North Face. We have such a rich history and exploration, and that's really at the core of everything we do is enabling people to find the incredible in nature and also in themselves. So when we're creating content, it's always top of mind. Like, how do we show up authentically? How do we show up in the right space? Not just on the right platforms, but also with the right audiences. And for us, it really just comes back to being consumer centric, really listening to these key audiences, curating experiences to meet their specific needs. And it just shows up completely differently. Like Bianca mentioned, really depends on the audience. So if you take, for example, our Summer of Pride campaign, we brought in a community partner, environmentalist, activist, Patagonia, to produce an event series for that. We knew it was so important that we showed up in the right way with the queer community, right? Totally flip side, this past August, we held the North Face's first climb festival up in Chicago. And we really leaned into our athlete tested, expedition proven tagline. We know it's super important to show up authentically in the climb community. So we brought our athlete team. They competed in the event. They were also commentators for the event. And we'll actually play a quick video from that from Instagram now.
Awesome. Epic. So cool. I climbed that same wall to get into the office earlier. Kind of definitely my people. That's really interesting. So you mentioned like showing up authentically for the athlete community, and what does that look like more specifically? Is that the folks that you bring into the team or the way you shoot them? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, honestly, kind of all of the above. So we brought in some of our athletes as competitors. We brought in some of our athletes as commentators, and really leaning into their strengths and like how can they show up in the right way for our brand.
Awesome. Love it. Yeah. And Melissa, I'm curious for you, everyone knows the Today Show, right? It's like
Aw.
universal. Knows and loves, I should say. Yeah, tell me a little bit about how you think about authenticity and how you keep that kind of central for your approach.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the Today Show is an iconic, legendary brand. It's been around since the 50s, and it's obviously had different iterations throughout the decades, too. I think we think of authenticity as we always make sure that we're being uplifting. We are constantly talking about the news of the day. Sort of servicey kinds of content, like these are the things that you should be concerned about today or thinking about today. And so we really try to reach the everyday person. And I think we also definitely know that on each platform, all of our audiences are very different too. And I don't think we try to retrofit certain things to work on one platform versus another. If we know that something is working on TikTok, we stick to that. We don't try to make it work on Instagram stories or Instagram. And I think that's one way that we really try to emphasize that authenticity. Because we've been around for so long, there's also a sense of nostalgia. And we've been having these morning concert series every year for quite some time. And yes, that is where Fergie did her backflips very iconically at like 7 in the morning. And Hilary Duff did her sort of choreography. And so we've really been trying to invest a lot of time and energy into our city concert series that we have with City. And we have been so much more creative than years past in some ways. and we had the Jonas Brothers kick off our summer series. And we were able to bring over Haley Lou Richardson, who is made popular from the show White Lotus. She's also a huge, which is, yes, the show of the century. Um, she's also a huge Jonas Brothers fan. So we brought her out, and she was our Jonas Brothers correspondent. But she also happened to be in their music video for their song Wings, which is off their newest album. And in the music video, Haley and her friends kind of encounter the Jonas Brothers on an elevator. And they all are like super surprised to see them. And then the Jonas Brothers kind of go off on their way to their penthouse apartment or something. And so we thought it'd be really cool to kind of flip the switch and have Haley be like the cool person in the elevator and the Jonas Brothers respond. So this did really well for us on TikTok. If you want to take a look, roll the tapes, please.
Going up?
So fun.
That's it, folks.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's so fun. It's awesome to get to work with folks of that caliber. Like that's really
Yeah,
playful and,
totally.
like just feels very natural, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's nice too when they're excited and about something like that as well, which is really neat. And they were all really great to work with, which was awesome.
Very
So
cool.
yeah.
So I have a couple more questions for this amazing panel, but we would love to encourage you to go ahead and start asking some questions. To the right of your screen, right there, you'll see an area where you can ask anything you'd like, and then we have a moderator looking to kind of get your questions to the panel. So get those in now, and I'll include some of those toward the end. You each of it have sort of mentioned to some degree, you know, designing for or thinking about like native channels. So and how you do things a little bit differently on different channels, but I'd love to dig in a little bit more on that. Melissa, I'm wondering if you can talk a bit about how you think differently about the different channels that you're producing for.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest thing is that first of all, my team is amazing, and I really just want to give them a huge shout out because so much of what we're able to accomplish and do is because of them. They're all like such talented producers and editors. I think the biggest thing, as I was mentioning before, is we don't try to, if something doesn't work on a certain platform, we don't keep trying necessarily. We sort of say, okay, that's okay, this works only on TikTok. How can we sort of take that same content and share it on Instagram or even on X, which is something that we're still using quite a bit every morning when we're live tweeting or live posting rather. And so I think the biggest thing is we're okay with certain things not working for certain channels, and we also don't necessarily force it, which I think is something that's been really helpful for us. And there's a way to kind of share the same content across each platform. I think you just have to kind of know what works for those platforms and how to sort of package it, if you will, which I'm sure Marin and Bianca know a lot about too. But
Yeah,
yeah,
totally. And I'm imagining that's like the nuances are a bit different from brand to brand. Like, so for
yeah,
Bianca, for you, you know, the mascot character, for example, does that, do you use the same kind of work across brands featuring that mascot, or is that really only TikTok as you showed us? Like, how do you think about the different channels?
Yeah, no. So mascot, that's like a very native, that voice even is native to TikTok. So that's a TikTok
mm,
series. Sometimes they'll make cameos, IG stories, and the mascot is well known on Instagram as well, but his vlogs or her vlogs live on TikTok. But I think when it comes to just like tailoring for platforms, I mean, for social teams, there's so many platforms out there. Everything's new. I think like a lot of us are just trying to keep up, at least us. So what's been really valuable is for us is prioritizing what channels, audiences, algorithms are most rewarding to net new content made specifically for that platform. And that really just informs how we're going to dedicate resources. So TikTok, for example, is top of that list. The algorithm isn't too keen on repurposed content. We're creating specifically for TikTok. That's not going to be repurposed on Instagram or YouTube Shorts or anything like that. And we're also leveraging native features, green screens, effects, that kind of thing. Threads, for example, we were really early on to that and saw great engagement. Still are seeing great engagement compared to its rival for us. So we decided to move resources and start creating specifically for Threads. And that paid off because the engagement was really high. But also when it comes to just like tailoring existing content for different platforms, you have to repurpose and rework some places when you're not creating net new. We always take a really like hard look at how the content is surfaced uniquely on different platforms. So, for example, on Facebook, if you wanted to post 4 photos, you could post them in a grid. On Instagram, if you were to post 4 photos, you'd need to swipe to see all of them as like a carousel if you were to post it natively. So for us, Facebook is a great place to use our before and after shots that normally find their way to our tart.com and on our profile pictures. So our audience on Facebook can see before to after with one glance. So that's a really unique way to use those assets that we wouldn't really use on Instagram otherwise.
Got it. Yeah, that's so interesting. Marin, is it similar for the North Face, kind of the way you divide and decide this is only going to be TikTok, this is definitely working on Insta or Threads, etc.?
Yeah, 100%. And it's like such a perfect combination of an art and a science. People are always asking, like, even the examples you gave, Bianca, like, agree 100%. And that is just knowledge that you're only going to have if you are a super passionate social media manager. Like, that's the key too, is you have to have a team that loves social, that like lives and breathes social. Because otherwise they're not going to know all those specifics. And shout out to my team too. I'm very lucky to have a team that are like just so engaged in the culture and the trends and like really forward thinking. But yeah, you're not going to know if you don't know, if you're not like fully immersed in it. So it's really important that you have a team that's like passionate about it, excited about it, wants to bring new ideas to it.
Awesome. So I'm hearing like some lessons like, if your team is passionate, they're willing to experiment a bit. You all seem willing to kind of give up when something maybe isn't quite right or not working, like, and just going to the thing that is going to like make sense for that platform. But I feel like it sounds like there's an even degree of experimentation mixed with passion, mixed with, like getting to know the nuances of that platform. Are there specific things that you do to kind of empower your team to be able to move more quickly? And I'll start with you, Mara. And like, are there things on your team where maybe folks have been a little hesitant or a little bit unsure about trying something, and you kind of encourage them to be a little more open and take more risks? And how do you do that?
Yeah. I think one of the most important things that's often overlooked is just to train that your team actually has time carved out of their already very, very busy schedule to focus on that. So we like to really plan time for doing the research, like what is going on with culture on the internet today? Like how do we like do some research, actually surface things that could be potential opportunities for us? Then of course you have to go react and create all of that content. And if your social team is already just like fully at capacity with other projects that are more pre-planned, you're not going to be able to expect that they can jump in on the latest trending thing that's happening in culture. So I think it's really important to actually have that time, carve it out, set it aside, and then create a culture of collaboration and partnership. A lot of social ideas are not just one person's idea. It's like someone shares a video and is like, this is interesting. Like, what, maybe we have a take on this. We use Slack as a platform to just share ideas back and forth with each other. And someone will build on that. It will turn into something else. That's how we ended up doing the Taylor Swift August trend with a bunch of our team members. Is just like spitballing, throwing ideas back and forth, creating a culture where people feel like they can bring new ideas to the table.
Awesome. I love it. I think we have time for a couple of quick questions. I know there have been several coming in. Before we take those, I'd like to go back to you, Bianca, and ask the same thing. Are there things that you did, for example, around the mascot work that you did, seems so fun and playful, and like you were coming up with things on the spot? Are there things that you had to do with the team to kind of encourage them to let go a little bit or kind of, act more quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with Marin, and just like having, I guess, open ways of communication to like encourage the sharing of ideas and collaboration. Like even little things like adding a text overlay on top of a trending audio. That text overlay, you have like 10 words to make that like right. We'll go through various iterations of that. And like I'll ask for input, like when you read this, does this resonate? So I think yes, collaborative environment, but I also think we're really lucky to have a leadership that is very much like do. So I can kind of empower my team to adopt a more of like test and learn mentality. That Shape Tape mascot video, I'm pretty sure my CEO was like, how can you make her more sassy? Like you should push the envelope a little bit more. And I was like, all right, like say no more. So we're kind of lucky in that sense
That's
too.
really fun. I love it. Okay, well, let's do a couple quick questions from the audience. We have a few minutes left. Melissa, I'd love to throw this one to you if that's cool. And this question is,
Yeah.
what are the key KPIs you're following? Is it different on each platform?
Yeah, definitely. It's super different on each platform. I would say we still look at engagement quite a bit. Obviously, views, especially when it comes to videos. We obviously still care about follower growth, sort of like the standard things across the industry, if you will. But I would say that because Instagram and TikTok are so fundamentally different in how we sort of approach them, we're definitely more interested in the growth on TikTok, which is just like really explosive and fun and interesting, and sometimes can be a bit of a surprise too, which is really cool. But yeah, I will say too, like these platforms are changing all the time, which I think Bianca and both Marin both said. But so sometimes our KPIs change even mid-year. So and it's
Understandable,
like,
yeah.
oh, we didn't know that Instagram was going to be doing this one big thing. So let's get going.
Awesome. I love it. Yeah, being
Yeah,
flexible is the name of the game for
of
sure.
course.
So we have a couple more minutes. I'd love to ask Bianca and Marin to tackle one more, which is, do you think that rawness is a trend that's only conducive to TikTok, or is that an arc you see across other channels? I really like that one. Bianca, what is your thought on that one?
I think TikTok has completely changed the game for every platform. Like
Mm.
reels look like, I mean, not completely just, there's still more of like a vibe on Instagram where you're kind of portraying it's not as much.
We're losing Bianca just a little bit. Marin, can I ask you to jump in on that one? How do you see rawness across the different platforms?
Yeah, I agree with what Bianca started. Like TikTok is definitely the change maker that's like spurred that difference in content, but we see it affecting every channel. So if you think about what a brand would post on Instagram 3 years ago versus today, it's a completely different place, right? So it might not be as raw as TikTok, but it's still influencing all these other channels.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I just wanted to say thank you to all three of you. Unfortunately, we lost Bianca at the end, but she made it almost to the very end, which is awesome. Really appreciate all your insight and your lessons. I think, each of your brands is really crushing it, which is why we wanted you to be here today. And I think some of the things you've had to say to the audience, I know are going to be very valuable takeaways. So thank you so much for joining us. And to everyone else, enjoy the rest of Outside the Frame, and we'll see you soon. Thanks so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye
Have a
all.
good one.